And we're live.
Hendo.
Good to be here, lads.
AKA the Flamingo, AKA Jackie Legs.
This is a very professional setup.
Mate,
I'm very impressed.
thank you, my friend.
You're sitting there holding the mic.
Welcome to the podcast, boys. Welcome to both sides of the fence. Mate, thanks for jumping on.
No worries, boys.
Second time having you on, our only repeat guest. So, mate, special. You've done something right to come on twice.
Well, mate,
Power of branding.
what happens when you want to work with the best, you know? All the other guests were practice for the second.
The confidence, mate. Let's just start it off. We're at the Star Casino and in Sydney at the moment. You've got the Bull Rush Rally, mate. Give us a bit of background on what this is and what's going on.
So, mate, it's a supercar rally from this time. It's from Sydney to the Gold Coast. Sydney to Brisbane, sorry. It's essentially 50 supercars, about 100 people, two people per car.
Yeah.
And naturally, it's people who are passionate about cars and you know, the lowest price car in event like this is probably mine.
Yeah.
What level are we talking, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, you know, like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, fucking
R8s?
Porsche, GT3, R8s. Yeah, actually R8's probably the lowest price car.
And you got Aventadors out there too, not just standard Lambos. You got Aventadors there
Yeah,
too. Crazy.
exactly. And the good thing about an event like this is naturally if you've got the capacity to spend that sort of money on a car, you know, you're doing well commercially. So not only is it an awesome event, you know, to have a lot of fun, but it's also a great networking event. And I did the one at the start of the year, you know, and off the back of that, I met some incredible people and we actually got some business off the back of it in terms of clients. So that's ROI positive.
Yeah. So this is why you're doing it mainly, networking and using it as leverage.
Yeah,
throughout
and I
the
like
networks?
cars.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you like
of
cars,
course.
yeah.
So yeah, like them, you know, if it didn't have a commercial benefit to it, I would find it more challenging to have 5 days off work than off work in quotation marks than if it, you know, because it does, I can substantiate it better in my head to say, hey, you know, I'm 99.9% going to meet someone that, you know, will help me on my journey or that it'll become a client. So the money that I spent to be here will have a return on it.
Yeah.
Plus I get to have fun along the way.
Is it invite only?
No, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you had a Camry.
Might not fit in.
Yeah.
Supercharged Camry, bit of NOS,
Yeah. So,
JDM.
yeah. And it's a good way to, you know, to meet people because it's not just Sydney-based people. So the last time we did it was Melbourne to Adelaide. So, you know, you've got people from all over Australia and, you know, it's good to grow your network from people who are not just Sydney-based because the reality is most people, you know, if you're in business, you know a lot of the local personalities in your area, whether you're friends with them or not, you know who they are. Whereas if you go interstate or internationally, you don't know a lot of people. So
Yeah, for sure.
you know, it's great to get out there.
So in terms of networking, today, Junior, mate, mate,
What's wrong? I stumped you. Come on, mate. Let's go.
God
I'm pretty
damn.
experienced at this.
God damn, mate. In terms of networking, I've seen you at a recent. Was it a charity dinner? Was that a charity?
Not the
dinner
wedding
or-
we're talking about.
No, not the wedding. Maybe like a couple of months ago. Some event, dinner, networking event.
Yeah, so I'm in a organization called EO. Yeah. So that is again, it's a business group that has qualifications to it and is essentially invite only. So you have to have a certain turnover, a certain staff count, you know, a certain
Yep,
Certain dick size.
yeah.
something like
And
that.
mine is one of the smallest in that room. Yeah, and that is essentially much more business focused on, you know, growth as an individual and growth as a business owner. So we have essentially a forum, which is the same 6 to 8 people that we catch up with once a month. It's a very structured meeting. And the whole idea of EO is to leave the 99% of shit that you talk to everyone about and go to EO forum meetings with the 1% of stuff that you talk to no one about. So, you know, I've only been in EO for about a year now, just over a year. And I'm just starting to get in the groove of it. But, you know, some forums have been together for 10, 15, 20 years. And, you know, these forum members would probably be closer to each other than most husband and wives or partners.
Is that right?
Yeah, because, you know, they talk about the 1% of their whole life, not just business. So it's, you know, hypothetically, I don't know, you've got relationship problems, or, you know, you're having an affair, or fucking your business is going to shit and you're about to go bankrupt and you got to tell all your staff this week that you're not going to make payroll. Like, you wouldn't tell anyone else that stuff. And the whole idea is you go to these forum meetings, and the reality is most people who are in business at a certain level all face the same problems, just wrapped differently. You know, so you go to these meetings and you share all of this stuff. And in EO, you can't give people advice, or you can't share your opinion. You're only allowed to share from experience. So, for example, if I said, you know, it's very structured, but it's personal, business, community, and one more. I can't remember the other one. So, you know, if I was going personal, I would rate my personal life for the month at, say, 7. And we'd go through and say, well, you know, this month, you know, I had something happen. I did something that I shouldn't have done, for example, blah, blah. So the other people in forum at the end can't say, oh, well, mate, you should have done this.
Yeah.
You know, they can only say, well, Jack, when I went through something similar, which was X, Y, and Z, this is how I dealt with it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, you're sharing
That's
from
powerful.
That is pretty powerful, because I noticed, just observing, working alongside you, that being in a leadership role you're in, it's actually can be quite isolating, where you're not sharing some of those thoughts. You may be going internally because you are looked at as the role model who others look to for leadership. How have you juggled transitioning into that leadership role quite early on with managing that overwhelming stress and problems you have to deal with internally?
So dealing with the problems I'm okay at. Like, I'm very self-sufficient and very self-confident, so I don't need anyone else's confidence to be able to say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing. The thing that I struggle with the most is oversharing with people. So naturally I try and tell people everything, and that, you know, a lot of the time bites you on the ass. So what I struggle with is parting friendships and, you know, being a business leader, because a lot of the time you shouldn't share your business problems or struggles and stuff with people that it's going to affect. And, you know, then everyone's got an opinion, and, you know, some people feel uncomfortable, and it's not just people who are inside the company, it's also people outside of the company as well. Like, because you've got like your friendship, which you can share, you know, your personal stuff, but then you've also got a business to run, and yeah, it's all learning, and I've done a lot of that over the last year, that's for sure.
Good. Mate, how much would you attribute the certain amount of success down to your actual going out and networking and getting out there?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, the only reason that I'm in the position I am is because of the people I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a few different reasons. One of the big reasons is because you're learning from people who have been there and done it, which is one of the things that I, you know, am huge about. That's why I didn't like school, because I looked at school teachers at, you know, you're a person earning $60,000 a year, driving a shit car, you know, coming to a job most of the time that you hate, you know, which is probably not the right way to look at it, because they're there to teach you about certain things. But that's how I've always been. So I don't listen to the opinions of people who have done fuck all in their life. Or, you know, I don't listen to the opinions of people who should look in the mirror. You know, like something happened recently that, you know, I did that was wrong. And, you know, everyone loves throwing shit at a board, right? Hoping something would stick. But, you know, what I did was wrong, sure. But then if those people stood and looked to themselves in the mirror at all the things that they do in their life, you know, people in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think surrounding yourself with people who, you know, there's the saying, which you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. So a lot of the time I'm the dumbest person in the room, but then I get into other rooms and I feel like the smartest, or I get looked at like the smartest. And that's because I hang out with people who are much smarter than me and who have done much more than me. So yeah, I think it's a game changer being able to.
Who taught you this?
I think, like, it was probably self-taught in a way, but on accident, because I firstly wanted to be around people with money, not consciously going, oh, this person must know a lot of stuff. I just wanted to be around rich people, and I always gravitated towards, like, you know, my dad's old boss, who was the richest person that we knew, had a huge civil earth moving company. And I always wanted to be around him because he had money, right? Had a BMW and, you know, had a lot of cool shit. So I'd go and work for him in the school holidays, get paid for it, obviously. So it was a job, but I'd want to work with him. And, you know,
What did he do?
when the
back then?
bosses, he had a huge civil earth moving company. So the company was called Hill Brothers, which was like the biggest company that built the Olympics and shit like that in Sydney when they come. So, and then, I've always wanted to be around the bosses of any company that I've worked at, and I've always been intrigued about how they got to where they were, and then as it started to transition into property, I met Chris Gray, who's actually on the Bull Rush Rally. From there, I met people around him, and then like naturally as you get older and you just start to do it more consciously, you start to understand. And Steve Jobs said in one of his talks before he died that he did to one of the universities in the US. He said, when you reflect back on your journey, it's much easier to join the dots. You can look back and go, fuck, well, the reason this happened is because I met this person and done this. And now I do it more consciously in a way, like, if I go to this meeting or if I meet this person, that conversation may lead to X, Y, and Z. Where before I was just doing it unconsciously and it just happened to be a positive outcome at the end of it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Shit.
Mate, how do you you're a super busy dude. I see you obviously being able to get away and do trips to New Zealand and Dubai, and obviously being able to do a bull rush rally and all these sorts of cool stuff. How do you manage all of this while running a successful business?
Well, everything's done by the phone now. The best thing to happen to COVID is I don't meet anyone face to face.
At all?
Yeah, unless Perry tells people to come to my office, which I hate.
He booked another one in today.
Yeah, so everything's done via the phone. So I can talk to the whole team. We have an 8 o'clock team meeting, which we all do via Zoom anyway. So whether I'm in the office or whether I'm not in the office doesn't matter. And then all of our meetings, when we're pitching for new business, is all done via Teams or Zoom. So I can be anywhere and do that. I've just got to be, smart about how I structure my meetings. So when I'm on this thing, the meetings have to be before 10 or after 5 because we'll be driving during the day. And even when I'm driving, I can take phone calls, right? Yeah. Same in New Zealand. New Zealand's only a 2-hour time difference and it was 2 hours ahead. So I would get up in the morning, like when I went to New Zealand, I'd be able to get up and do, a lot of shit before 10 in New Zealand. And then it was only 8 o'clock back in Sydney. So then I'd do the team meeting and, be able to do a few bits and bobs. And then same thing in the night, I'd have meetings. So,
how do you manage that with having a partner that's traveling with you?
She doesn't travel everywhere with me.
Yeah.
She didn't come to New Zealand. When we went away on a holiday, obviously we went together.
Yeah.
But when I went most recently with EO, she didn't come.
Yep.
I don't know. It is what it is, right? You wouldn't be on the holiday if I wasn't in business. So that's the reality of it. But again, it's again, like if I'm going to say something else that I learned from someone else, like Jack Daly, I just had him on my podcast last week. And one of the things he was talking about to me, and I think about things, like I hear a lot of shit and then I think about things a lot and internalize them. Hence the reason I always like learning from people. I do the podcast for my selfish benefit, for not anyone else's. I want to learn from people, and I actually do learn so much from them. So Jack was talking about his life and, built this incredible business. He had 2,700 salespeople working underneath him. I have about 10 and I fucking want to pull my hair out. He had 2,700. Crazy. And naturally, growing that size of a company, you can imagine the time it takes up, right? And then also had 2 or 3 kids along the way. And we were talking through the podcast and I'd seen him once before at an EO event. And he said, he had spoke nothing about fitness at all in that part of his life. And then he said, and then when I got to 43 or 48, I can't remember what age it was, I started to get into marathons, and he's ran 100 marathons and he was like 74 or something. And he said, I didn't know how to swim until I was 48. And when I learned how to swim, then I started doing Ironmans. And I asked the question, I said, how come it's only later in your life that you got really passionate or really serious about fitness, and you didn't really talk about it much earlier in your life? And he said, well, because you can never do everything at once. You always have to sacrifice, right? So, you can't have a great family life. You can't run a company with, if you had 2,700 salespeople, you probably had 3,000 staff. You can't have a great fitness regime, a great diet, have a balanced life. It's just not reality, right? So you have to prioritize things. So for Jack, early in his life, his priority was to grow the biggest business he could grow and to be a good dad. So fitness wasn't a big deal to him, naturally, right? Because you didn't want to fit that in. And then as his kids got older, he didn't need to be in the business as much. He had more free time, and that's how he chose, to start getting more passionate about fitness. And the reason I say that is because, if you want to have a great business and a great life, that like financially have a cool life, naturally you're not going to be able to have 6 hours of time every night with your partner to lay on the lounge and watch Netflix, or every weekend free, or to go on holidays and not have to be on your phone, right? Like we can all be better at it for sure. Like I'm the worst person ever on my phone. Like if I don't like talking to someone or I get bored, the first thing I do, not even consciously, is grab my phone and start doing something. But it's all like working out what the priorities are. So my priority in my life right now is to grow the biggest business I can grow, and to be the best partner I can be, and to be the best person I can be. So they're the three biggest things, and when one of them becomes less important, I worry about something else.
What do you feel you've had to sacrifice in attaining that?
That's a good question. Nothing. I heard a podcast this morning. Fuck. My whole life is just like, I heard this. So I listened to a podcast this morning on the way from Newcastle to Sydney. And, this dude was young, had a business that was doing $60 odd million a year in rev. And he just kept on saying, I sacrifice so much. I sacrifice so much. And, in my head, I was like, oh, sacrifice. And I thought about it. And I'm like, fucking sacrifice. We don't sacrifice anything. Like, we live in an incredible country. We have the opportunity to, grow businesses and have freedom and have the financial capacity to do so. Like, sure, you sacrifice not going to a club 1 weekend out of 4. You only went 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really sacrifice, right? Like, I don't sacrifice anything. Like, really. Like, I live a pretty good life. Like, I think the difference between potentially someone who is more commercially successful than someone else is the person who's less commercially successful probably doesn't dedicate as much time to that part of their life than someone who is, right? And I wouldn't say that's sacrifice. I think it's more of a choice.
Definitely a choice more than a sacrifice.
Can I rephrase the question then? Do you feel you've had to forego happiness in the moment of achieving success? Or do you feel like it's been worth all the experiences you've gone through in attaining a level of success? Has it been worth it, or do you feel at times it's overridden or overtaken?
I think that if I wasn't chasing commercial success and there's highs and lows, then you'd be chasing something else. Like you're always chasing something, right? A lot of people are chasing women, or women are chasing guys, right? Takes up a lot of their time. You could ask that person, if you had one partner, would you be wasting so much time chasing, because when you're chasing, a male or a female, either, you're sacrificing or not doing things in other parts of your life. It's the fucking full-time job. Like it is, like if you're a single guy or girl and you're out there chasing tail, it's like Instagram, like you're always messaging people, you're liking, you're going on dates, you're not getting to bed at a good time, you're drinking, you're going out for dinners. Like it becomes a fucking full-time thing. And while you do that, you're making the choice to spend a lot of your time to give you happiness in that moment, right? Because usually for a guy, when you're chasing a girl, you're chasing her to have a fuck, and that's it. Like that's the reality. I sound like Andrew Tate, don't I?
Blow up the internet. Let's go.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So like you're foregoing, happiness in other areas of life just because you want to chase that, and then all of a sudden you become shallow and you get over it, and so.
How do you know when you're making the right choice?
You don't. You just make the choice with the information that you have at the point in time, right? So there's all this stuff where it's like you shouldn't make decisions when you're angry, and you shouldn't make decisions when you're sad, and you always should, think about things before you're like, awesome. You just have to make the decision and be confident in the decision that you're making with all of the information that you have readily available to you. So, and then you realize after the fact whether it was the right decision, whether it was the wrong decision, or whether it was a decision that could have been, better. Because I've made a lot of decisions and there have been the right decisions, but they could have been made or structured in a better way,
So what happens when you make the wrong decision and it's something that throws you off your game and you have to readjust? How do you navigate that?
You just be fully accountable. It's like, like the thing I was talking about before, I made the wrong decision. I admit that, but it doesn't affect anyone else other than me. So why the fuck does anyone else care or have an opinion about it? It's my decision. I shouldn't have done it. The end, And it's like you're never going to make the right decision every single time, you know. And I think a lot of you make decisions based on a lot of past events that have happened in your life because you collate all that data to go, I made the decision that was right at the time. That, you know, everything was right and wrong at that time. And you collate all those decisions that you've made, and that helps you make better decisions moving forward. Toby Pierce talked about on my podcast recently about how, you know, the quality of the decisions you make form how successful your life is, right? One bad decision can literally, you know, forego a lot of hard work that you've made, and one good decision can dramatically change the trajectory of your life. So I think, you know, reiterating what Toby said is the quality of decisions are very, very important, but the only way you make good quality decisions is by making a lot of decisions in the past where you can have information to work out, well, you know, this is going to be a higher probability of being right than it is of being wrong.
What do you think from doing the doers and the goners? You've talked about this on your podcast. The distinction between people who say they're going to do something and people who just actually pull the trigger. What would you say is the big thing holding a lot of people back from actually achieving their goals or their ambitions?
Probably discipline and fear, I would say. Like, you know, I said I'm going to run a 100K run this year. Gonna do that. I haven't done it yet. And the reason I haven't done it is because I can't be fucked doing the training to run 100Ks, you know? So it's like...
So you're going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. Now every week I leave it, I fucking gets further and further away. And then I just see Ned Brockman ran 4,000K. Then it makes me feel like a piece of shit.
What a nutcase.
You know, but the reason I haven't done that, and it's a gunner, not a doer or done, is because... you know, I'm not disciplined enough, or haven't been disciplined enough to do the training and commit my life to, like, that part of my life to doing the training that you needed to be able to do that run. You know, and on the other spectrum, if I look at things that I haven't done because of fear, you know, probably firing people, for example, like inside of the company, you know, you say, I'm going to do this, but you don't do it because there's a level of fear behind it. I'm going to break up with this person. You know, you say you're going to do it, but you don't do it because there's a level of fear. You know, if you look at it from a more commercial sense, like I'm, you know, going to buy property or going to, you know, start my own business or whatever it is, but there's a level of fear as to why you don't do it. So I think it's probably discipline, and then, you know, the other spectrum is, you know, you have fear as to why you don't do things. And again, that's usually formed from past experiences in your life or from your mother and father or something.
And how do you overcome fear in that moment of making a decision?
Alcohol is a good way to... You just don't think. You know?
I just don't give a
fuck. You know, you probably don't make the best quality decisions when you do that. But usually, like, the driver has to outweigh the negative of not doing it, right? So my lack of fear with accumulating debt and buying assets and growing a company is because I don't want to be poor and broke. So I fear being poor and broke more than I fear going broke, like or going bankrupt or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's more scary to me, being average and not having a cool life and not being able to do it well and not living up to my potential as well. I think, you know, you need to have a confidence in what you're doing, and you know, the more you reiterate, or for me personally, the more that I've said something and reiterated what I've said by doing the actions and achieving what I said I was going to do, it gives you more confidence, right?
Yeah,
it gives you more
definitely.
confidence to say things and then back it up, and then say things and back it up. Where if you say things and don't back it up, you probably then have low confidence or low self-esteem because you don't even believe your own word.
Yeah.
And I have that in some parts of my life, for sure. But, you know, commercially, I usually do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah. So this 100K run that you say you're going to do, I struggle to understand why someone wants to run 100 kilometers.
prove to myself I can do it. You know, that's
Is
really
that the real reason?
yeah, well, I did the marathon, and then like the marathons last year, and then this year I was like, oh, well, what can I do that was? And I didn't set the goals very strategically. I just doubled everything I did last year, and thought that was a good idea. So I was like, okay, I'll run 2 marathons and I'll run 2 ultra marathons. Well, Daniel and I did the 1 ultra marathon, which was fucked up, but it was good. Like at the end of it, it was it was a really good sense of achievement.
It was such a fun trip as well.
Yeah, you know, and I think like running the 100Ks again, it's like it's going to be very uncomfortable and painful while you're doing it, but that sense of achievement after it, going, fuck, I said I was going to do that and I did it, is you know, more long lasting than the pain of having sore legs and you know and you know whatever else you get when you run.
What did you learn from running your first ultra marathon?
That Daniel's a little bitch.
Did you finish?
Yeah, he finished.
You finished.
But
just held me back.
he smashed me.
I don't know, man. Like it's probably harder than what we anticipated it to be.
You didn't think it was going to be really fucking hard?
Well, like I was like, oh, I ran a marathon. Marathons are hard, but it's not like, you know, that hard. And we were doing a lot of running too, like last year and even now. Like I just thought it was going to be a bit easier than what it was. You know, it fucking took a long time. Like felt like we were
5
running
hours
forever.
Bro, it was 5 hours and 40 minutes for me to finish. What time did you finish it in?
5:20, I think. I don't think anyone understands like how difficult what Ned did is. Like anyone who hasn't ran a marathon before wouldn't be able to comprehend how hard that is for 2 reasons. 1, the distance he was running every day, and 2, how you feel for a week after running a marathon, let alone 2.5 marathons every day for 47 days, whatever he did.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Because like it's just, I don't know. People, anyway.
That's probably one of the biggest achievements.
Yeah, like imagine how he feels now. Like not like mentally.
He's fucking done
saying that he was going to do that and actually doing it. He like
Bulletproof mindset.
It reflects in all aspects of your life. Then it's not just the running. Like he literally would now believe I can do whatever the fuck I want. If I say I'm going to do something, I will do
I
it.
can generally do it.
Yeah, which you know shows in a lot of areas of your life. You start to get really strong self-esteem. I think.
Yeah. Would you give it a crack?
What he did?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know. Probably not.
It'd be just coming down to prioritising.
Yeah, again, like priorities. What is my priority to run across Australia? Like I have no urge to do that. I like the fact that he like did it. I think that's incredible. But for me, the benefit that I would get out of it probably wouldn't weigh up. You know, other than like the mindset thing would be awesome. Like, you know, I don't really have an urge to do that.
Does that mindset wane? Like, is it like motivation where you listen to a motivational video, pumps you up for 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes later you're back to normal? Like when you do this sort of stuff, do you reset after a day your mind?
Like fitness stuff. I don't like fitness. Like it's a little punish for me to do something fitness related. It's not enjoyable to me. Yeah. I don't enjoy getting up early in the morning and going for a run or like going to the gym. You know, I'd rather do other shit. I would rather make 3 TikTok videos or, you know, do something like that. So you always feel good after it. But like naturally in other aspects of my life, then if I don't drink or, you know, do anything else, I'm pretty like consistent with my thinking and motivation, and probably stronger. Like my mind is stronger than if I was to have drinking that, because then you go through those highs and lows and the fluctuations.
Yeah.
Have you got a success formula for yourself?
Yeah, fucking get up early, don't drink, go to work at 7, get home at 7, and just do consistent stuff day in, day out. Like,
yeah,
it's not, yeah, that's it.
Do you ever find that, like, is it
boring? Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Fuck yeah. It's not fun. Like, no.
What do you think the market's changed dramatically from last year till now? And it's been the first time in quite a while we've seen a market so turbulent as we are now. What are the biggest learnings you've had from seeing a crazy market and then coming straight back down to zero? What are your biggest learnings?
Never be reliant on someone else to give you business.
Yep.
Fuck referral partners.
That's always been your philosophy, hasn't it?
Yeah, like why would you be at the mercy of someone else? Blows my mind, you know. So I think a lot of people who were very referral based, who now their referral partner's business has dried up, that directly affects their business. And it just reiterated to me, like how powerful brand is. I could have 0 referral partners and I'd be eating steak and caviar every day, which is a powerful position to be in, right? And if that can just continue to grow and grow and grow, like that's an awesome feeling. So having a business that's not reliant on someone else, I'm a big believer in, and referrals are just a great addition to that, both from past clients and from, partners.
That's the cherry on top.
Yeah, it should be the cream as opposed to your whole business, where a lot of people are the other way. It's like, let's just be fully referral based, but I'm sick of licking asses. It's not really my thing.
Don't like a good Remy.
I think, it's when you're growing a business and you're not running on real fat margins because you're reinvesting a lot of money back into your business, it only takes a month or two to have a dramatic shift in your cash position, and that directly affects your mindset of thinking scarcely as opposed to more abundantly. So that was a big change, going from doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to all of a sudden having an interest rate rise in May, and then, for the next month or two, having a very different couple of months was somewhat stressful. You soon work out, I think, from a team perspective, like who's on the boat for the right reasons and who's on the boat for the wrong reasons. When things get a little bit tough, it's like, well, fuck the boat, let's jump off. So that's interesting. And I think that's interesting, like in all aspects of my life. I've been thinking about that a lot recently. Like people, they're there when they want to be there and not there when they don't want to be there, which is totally fine. You have to be okay with that. But not like actually being okay with that and not being okay with that.
So you're talking about how you're managing you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars one month, then the next month, who knows, you might lose money. That's going to be super stressful, and to a lot of people, that's going to keep them up at night. How do you manage that?
Get stressed, and I usually just pull something out of my ass.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like it's so weird. Every time that I've been in some sort of financial stress, and it happens consistently, because I overextend myself with. I'm not afraid to say it, because if you don't do that, then you're not going to grow as fast and as much as you should. But I go through times where I'm extremely abundant, and I go through my times where I'm very scarce. And the reason for both of those things is because I either haven't gone hard enough when I'm super abundant, or I've gone too hard when I'm scarce. It stresses you the fuck out. Like I had a property settlement that was like a $6 million property settlement at the start of this year. And 2 weeks before settlement, they lowered the LVR from 70% to 50%, and I had to come up with $1.2 million cash in about 2 weeks. I also bought another property, and again, underestimated the impact that Christmas has on a business like us. I was at an EO event in New Zealand recently, and there's a company called Whoop over there, which is essentially the HelloFresh of New Zealand, $50 million a year business. Big business, right?
Big business.
And same thing with him. He, went through and like when you have a business like that, it's like subscription based essentially. And people go away at Christmas time, so they don't want you subscription based. So all of a sudden your revenue goes from being $50 million a year, it's $4 million a month in December. Like let's say you were doing $5 million a month or $6 million a month all the way up into December, and then you do 300,000 that month. It's going to make a huge impact, right? On even though you've had a consistent month, you've been reinvesting all of those, not considering what's going to happen in December. And I made that mistake last year of like, I just thought October, November, and December would be the same. I had a property settlement coming up in the end of January. Didn't have a strong cash flow month, December, January. And then all of a sudden I was like, fuck, I got to come up with 200 grand, and I had to borrow money from people. Like, yeah. To be able to make that settlement. Again, it's great to have people to lean on like that. But again, you find a way, right? Yeah, but fuck, it is what it is, Yeah. Like you just got to continue. I think that you can probably not go as hard as, I go, like as extreme, but it's just my personality. And I truly believe that's why I will, hit a bill. Like, yeah. Because if I'll only go one or two ways, I'll be a Billy, or it'll be like, fuck, I'll be hanging out the Wolfhorse Caravan Parks.
Yeah. Go for gold. You know what? It's funny. One thing when you ask that question that I've learned through this process is not being attached to your goals too much and what you want to do 100% of the time. For example, like when Eddie Piddington said, sometimes you got to do work because you've got to do work, and then sometimes you'll pick a core area because you're passionate and you love it. When the market's changed, it's gone from owner-occupied dominant marketplace to now investors as our primary source of
For sure.
main clientele. One thing I've learned is being able to change your solution based on the problems that are arising in the marketplace, rather than I'm only going to serve this problem because I only want to have this solution to offer. That's one thing I've learned.
That's true. I feel the same way. Like, especially when you're talking about goals and not being attached to it. Like I set some pretty hefty goals at the start of this year, not expecting to see what we've seen, and obviously we're well off the bat of a lot of them. And man, if you're so attached to that, I don't even know how I'd be able to function. Like you go back a couple of years ago when I was so goal focused and so goal driven, if I didn't hit something, especially that far away, I'd be in depths of depression right now. Like I think it's good to have goals and set your goals, but yeah, definitely don't be so attached to it at the same time. And
I'm attached to my goals.
Do you still set massive goals? Like,
For sure. Yeah.
So how do you manage that then? Do you just say fuck it? It is what it is.
I think, and then I try and substantiate to myself as to why I haven't hit a certain goal, right? Like I haven't hit my revenue target for this year, but there's been a lot of other positives that have come off the back of it. So I was like, yeah, you didn't hit this one, but
Yeah.
you know, you've done well here. But I think you need to have the goals because it then dictates the kind of person you are, the kind of activities that you do.
the trajectory kind of thing.
Yeah, like I think it's pretty important
To have
me.
goals, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also to be attached to those goals,
Okay.
right? Because like again, it comes back to like doing what you say you're going to do as opposed to, you know, not doing what you say you're going to do.
Do you not think there's a way to be attached but not be so emotionally attached?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have your self-worth tied up in them. Well, I can't have my self-worth tied up in them. But I also think that if you set, you know, I think people usually set goals wrong as well. Like I set my goals this year wrong. I didn't factor in all the external factors, and I just thought my trajectory is this. Well, that's what next year will look like. But I didn't think about what happens if the marketplace changes? What happens if X or Y happens, you know? I just went, let's double everything.
That's what I did.
Yeah,
Did what you did.
And again, we set goals the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it's good that we set the goals, but we shouldn't have set them the way we did. Yeah. But then I think fully detaching from those goals and going, fuck, it is what it is. The market is what it is. Like, I'll just hit whatever numbers I want to hit. You know, it's probably for me the wrong mindset. It's like, okay, well, the market's harder. We just have to do more. You know, I got on TikTok this year, which I wasn't on last year, and you know that again dramatically shifted my business. Where I think if this year was the same as last year, I wouldn't have done that because I was swimming in money. You know, so you do things because you have to do those things if you still want to continue on the journey that you're on, and that's been, you know, pretty pivotal for my personal brand and the business, I think. But I think having like pretty clear direction as to where you're heading, you know, so I know in my head that if I want to hit this, you know, developing goal of mine and have a global organization, I need to be doing daily activities that are going to get me to that goal. And, you know, then the way you live your life reflects around that.
Definitely.
Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And even things like this, you know, like I know there's going to be people on the Bull Rush Rally that are going to, or could, not gonna, that could help me to get closer to the goals that I want to hit.
Yeah.
So again, the way that I will, you know, go about this week will be in line with that.
Yeah. And just touching on TikTok, because you just brought it up, I know we've briefly spoken about it, but you're blowing up right now. How much time do you invest per day on TikTok?
Not that much.
Not consuming content, but creating content.
Yeah, I don't really consume a great deal at all. I only consume things to get ideas, like, but I don't know, not that much. Maybe like an hour.
Yeah.
Like half an hour for like, depends what kind of post I do. You know, if I'm like, the thing that takes time is like going, oh, that's a good idea, and then like going and if I do like a green screen post where I'm like talking over the top of a photo, then I've got to go screenshot all the photos, get them all, you know, correctly, find all the photos that I want in there. So that takes, you know, it can take half an hour, but I mean, Daniel and I had a chat recently and I was like, well, sure, it can take half an hour, but it's a high leverage task because in half an hour, how many calls could you make? 30 to 50 maybe? In in half an hour making a TikTok, I can reach 700,000 people. That's, a pretty high leverage activity. So it makes sense to do that.
Yeah. Why do you think everyone's so afraid to jump on TikTok?
Just people are insecure, man. Like, fucking jump in my comments, make you want to kill yourself. Serious. Like, if
It's
you're
true,
a
man. It's
person
true.
that's upset, like, fuck, man. People are like,
Yeah.
Savages.
yeah, but it's like a reflection. Again, like, look in the mirror. You know, like you're projecting onto me what you don't like about yourself.
I've never been able to comment on someone's post and write a negative comment. I don't even know
Imagine
how to be able
sad,
to do that.
man, those people are. They must be fucked up in their head.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. So
I agree.
But again, unfortunately, those bums aren't paying my bills. So,
Mate, Javan, let's snip this up and then just privately DM everyone on Jack's comments.
Javan, what questions would you have for Jack yourself?
Honestly, I don't know. I guess since you're so young, like you're only a few years older than me, Daniel, what would you say for something like someone our age who's not a high earner immediately and then can switch into building a portfolio like you did?
I wasn't
Great
a high
question.
earner. Like when I started, I was on probably similar money to what you're on, I would say. Like when I started not in real estate. Oh, actually, when I started in real estate, I was earning $0 because I didn't get paid from anyone. But when I started in construction, like if you're a construction labourer, I was probably earning 60-ish grand a year, 70 grand a year my first year, I would say. And naturally, like that was a job where you just had to work more hours to get paid more. So I just did more overtime. I worked Saturdays and I was able to make more money. So, for someone like yourself, you can work here, but then like you've got Saturdays and Sundays free. We could probably earn a couple of grand on a weekend if you shot some stuff or DM some people on Instagram and like actually wanted it. Mine was just different. I was like, if I wanted, I just say I want an overtime shift and work 8 hours on a Saturday. But then again, it's probably like a goal thing, like just being able to understand what you want. Like, why do you want to grow a portfolio? I don't want to grow a portfolio because I fucking love to have debt. Like, my mortgages are a lot of money. I could spend that money on a lot more fun stuff, but it's like the reason you're doing it is for a bigger thing. I think, yeah, it is. I think one of the things that something I don't understand is like, why do I think like this, but they don't think like that, and Toby Pierce spoke about it a little bit, but it's like maybe understanding the way to think, like, because if you're like, I want to earn whatever, or I want to do X or Y, like you have to know how to think to be able to do that, if that makes sense. You're like, well, if I want to do that, how can I actually do that? So when I think about something, I'm like, I'd love to do that. I then process it and be like, okay, well, I'd have to do this, I'd have to do this. And I think that's come from like doing a lot of podcasts, interviewing a lot of people, working things out on my own as well. Like when I got into real estate, it was just me. So like, learning something from someone and then implementing that. So if you wanted to be like, okay, I want to earn $500,000 this year, let's just use that for an example. Like, it sounds like a big number, but like you have to firstly believe that it's achievable and be like, hey, how the fuck can I do that? Okay, well, if I did 50 jobs this year that were $1,000 a job, that's 50 grand. Okay, well, that's not going to get me to my goal. So how do I do more? Maybe I've got to employ someone. Maybe I've got to DM and get a bigger job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've got to actually, and then implement that stuff. I don't know if that answered the question. That answered the question.
I did. I think it did. It did.
And I think it's the same thing as like like most agents, is it agents that listen to this?
Yeah, mainly. Yeah.
Yeah, like with agents, again, I don't think if you're an associate, for example, in someone's team, like people need to understand for themselves. Sure, someone can guide them, but they need to understand for themselves, how do I get from here to here over the next 2 years? Like, how do I get out of this person's team and start doing it for myself? Well, these are the things that I need to do to be able to get there on a daily basis. And, it's not just doing the calls. It's also being able to build a brand. It's also having a meeting with someone that may not even have anything to do with real estate before work. If you started at 8, you've got a lot of hours before 8 to be able to do that. It is cold DMing someone on Instagram being like, hey, bro, I love that podcast that you're on the weekend, or whatever it is. Like, it's doing all of these things because in your mind, by doing a lot of those things, it will compound over time and it will get you there, and then actually believing that that's going to work, right?
Solid. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, if you go, okay, I've got to do all of these things, and then actually do them because you know that it's going to get you there. Like 2 years later, if you did them for 2 years, I think your life would be a lot of very different. And same with content. Like people don't do content because they post one video, they have 2,000 followers and it gets 100 views. I'm like, fuck this, bro. It took a long time. But if I said to you, do that every single day for the next 4 years, and in 4 years' time, you'll be getting 10,000 views per video, and it was guaranteed, they would do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's the hard thing. It's that delayed gratification bit where we're such in a high-paced world and it's now. They don't want to have to wait for that, for the reward, right? But when it comes down to it, the hard thing that people that they have a hard time wrapping their head around is with the delayed gratification, it's not guaranteed. So they go, well, I'm going to put in 4 years of effort, but it's not guaranteed. So that's the hard bit. I think some people
it's true.
to get overcome.
And I think that's the self-belief part as well, right? Like I think when I do things, it is guaranteed. That's how I think. I'm like, if I fucking do this, it'll definitely do. So to give you an idea, I was just thinking about something like, how can I explain the decision-making matrix? So for example, I just thought about something that I did. So I wanted to get closer to Chris Gray and his friends, right? So I was 18 or 19 and I bought the lunch to go and have lunch with Chris. It was like a 1 hour mentoring session. It was $1,500. $1,500 when you're only making $1,200 a week is a lot of money. So I bought the lunch with him. It's an 18-year-old kid working in construction. We had lunch at Woolloomooloo Wharf when I lived out west. It was a big deal, bro. I fucking rolled in there. I had a Ralph Lauren top on, parked my green Holden. Nice. Anyway, I had the lunch and I was like, fuck, now how do I like continue this relationship, right? How can it not just be one thing? Anyway, so naturally, every time I'd meet someone, I'd add them on social media. I'd add everyone as a friend on Facebook. And then I was like, okay, well, I've just got to stay relevant. So I'd like and comment on all of their shit. So my name kept popping up everywhere. Then I was like, okay, I'm doing mortgage. I'm getting loans. But at the moment, they've just been with the ANZ Bank. So how do I get like loans with someone who's then connected to other people? So I was like, bang. There was a mortgage broker that was like really popular on social media. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my loans through that person because they're going to help me, right? Because they know a lot of people. They'll do something. They'll tag me in their post. Comes like, oh, who the fuck's this Jack Henderson guy? That's how I thought. So I was like, bang. And then Lewis, who was one of Chris's business partners, bought a share in a 32-foot Chris Craft, which is a boat, about a $500,000 boat. He bought a share and wanted to sell half of his share and put it on Facebook. I saw that and I was like, that's my fucking ticket to get closer to them. If I buy a boat with this guy, we're going to be an owner of a boat together. So I got a personal loan of like 30 grand or something. Bought this boat. I was like, 19 or 20 or something.
What was the interest on that?
I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Because that's what I think. I'm like, who cares about the interest, right? And I bought a share in a boat. And I was like, fuck yeah. Bro, within 2 weeks, I was out in the boat with Chris and Lewis. I was like,
No way.
Genius. And then...
That is genius.
That's a killer.
And then, from there, I did a lot of shit like that. I was like, okay, so how can I, again, joining the dots while I'm in it? Like, instead of reflecting back, joining the dots, I was like, how can I get from here to here? Anyway, so I went to the mines in Newcastle. Then I was in Newcastle and I was like, okay, so I need to meet, like I need to continue to build my brand. So I was doing a lot of podcasts in Sydney. I was like a property investor, but then I needed to continue that when I moved to Newcastle when I was 21. So then I was like, okay, who's the best real estate agents in Newcastle? Mark Kentwell, number one. Okay, well, let's just fucking add Mark Kentwell and start commenting all his shit. Bang. And I was
Really?
like, hey, yeah. And then I was like, you want to have breakfast? Had breakfast. And then I was like, that's when I started to do the podcasts and shit. So I was like, okay, well, if I can ask people to be on my podcast, great. So then I was like, hey, Mark, let's do an interview. Interviewed him. Then, naturally, Mark's my business partner and all the rest of it. The bull rush thing, right? The cars. I was like, when I started in real estate, I was in a no birds hire car because I sold my car and I couldn't afford to buy a Mercedes. So I was like, fuck, I'll just hire a car until I can afford to buy one. But then I was like, okay, so I bought the Mercedes and then I started to do well. And I was like, fuck, okay, so if I want to get closer to high net worth individuals, it's much easier when you're on the level playing field with them. Because whether you have a $300,000 car at this event or you have $1 million car, you're the same because you all have one thing in common. It's a level playing field. So I bought the R8. I couldn't afford the R8 when I bought it. I didn't have a garage. I parked it on the street in Coogee. Oh. But the R8 did two things. Perception from everyone else was like, fuck, this guy's killing it. So my personal brand grew. Plus then, all of a sudden, I met all the guys at Scuderia Graziani and Jack Henderson bought a car for Measure on their Facebook and Instagram. I'm doing the Bull Rush rally, and it's like doing lots of things like that. Do podcasts with someone who exited out of a big company. He's got tens of millions of dollars sitting in the bank account,
Hundreds of millions.
Sees me in all over social and goes, fuck, this guy knows about property. And I was like, oh, I know about property. You've got money. Let's join the two together and let's do some developments. Bang. And, it's like always being strategic about the reason that you're doing things, I think that's why I was talking about, like, understanding how you're going to get from here to here. That's something I've been very good at all the time.
You're a master of networking and there's no playbook for this. How do you know what to do with this stuff? Like, how do you just give anything a crack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something I'm good at, I guess. Like, like piecing the puzzle together. Now I'm trying to work out how to hit the $1 billion valuation in my head. Like, I'm trying to work out how much, I haven't worked it out yet, but I'm trying to work out like how much. Well, you need $1 billion in net assets, right, to be a billionaire, but you don't need $1 billion of revenue to be a billionaire because you have a multiple of revenue. A lot of people, might have $10 million of revenue, but have 100 times multiple on that 10 mil. Hence the reason they get the valuations of what they do. A lot of these tech billionaires are not actually worth that much money because they'd have to sell their company, and the shares in their company actually can't do that. Anyway, but now I'm trying to decipher in my head, like, how do I hit a bill? And once I work that out, which I'm close to, then I'll go, okay, well, I've got to build something that's going to give me that. And there's the bill.
Why bill?
I don't know. It seems like a logical next step.
Yeah. why do you...
I think I'm already guaranteed 100 mil.
Yeah. Easy.
Like in my life, I'm
You'll
guaranteed
get
100 mil from here.
Mate, you don't even have to do anything and you'll get there.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I've only got to acquire a small amount of real estate
just hold it,
hold it, and I will hit 100 mil.
Yeah. So this
But that's like, I want to hit a bill. I'm like, and again, it's like the self-confidence thing, like going, fuck, okay, well, I've done this now. And all you have to do is multiply what I've already done.
Yeah.
And do it faster to hit the bill.
You didn't grow up around money. So why do you, what spurred this motivation on?
I don't know. I was very jealous and a liar when I was young, a lot. Like, so I always wanted what we didn't have when I was a kid, and I always used to lie at what we did have, and then I'd get caught out. They'd be like, "Hey, Jackie and Rob, have you got this?" And they'd be like, "No, we don't have that." Like, fuck you, mum. Yes, we do. In my head, we do. And it probably like, it was like a big insecurity of mine. Fuck knows why, just was. And I don't know, I just wanted to scratch that itch.
Yeah.
I wanted to scratch that itch. Now I've scratched it. So
Do you feel,
that was the driver originally, yeah.
Yeah.
do you feel like you're living a life to fill an insecurity, or is it now at a stage where you are doing things out of ambition and fulfillment?
The insecurity's full now. I can buy whatever the fuck I want. Like, no, I'm not fucking a mega millionaire, but like, I can go buy the car if I want to go buy the car. I've got to pay for it naturally, but I could do it. Or I can go buy a fucking Rolex if I want a Rolex. Like, I would not enjoy buying it. It'd make me upset spending that much money on it, but I can do it, And I think and that was the thing with the cars, like, the cars are not exciting to me anymore, because I've had the cool cars and I know I can do it now. I've scratched that itch and I'm like, oh, okay, I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's when you do it and you prove to yourself that you can do it, then you're like, oh, okay, fuck, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing now with, like, I want to hit a bill for two reasons. One, because to hit that, you've got to become a certain person, right? Which is pretty cool. Like, people who get to that level are fucking smart guys, and they've cracked the code. I think you can get to even 100 mil. Like, you don't have to be that great of assets, and like, not business. Like, to hit $100 million a year in business is very, very fucking hard, especially a service-based business. But in assets, like, you have some good acquisitions. Like, there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money just from luck. They bought something, rezoning happened. Like, you go out west, and all these farmers fucking sold their farms like 30 or 40 mil, Yeah, but like, it probably started out as an insecurity, but again, now, like, I've got nothing to be insecure about. I think the thing that I love the most is I'm reliant on zero people. And that's not being egotistical. I don't need anyone in my life.
Yeah.
that's a good feeling.
It's a powerful place to be.
A lot of people need people in their life, and they take shit from people because they need those people, right? And it's like, oh, okay, well, I won't do that. And I think not needing anyone. I'm not saying I don't need, of course you need
But
people.
you can be
in
your
your
true
life.
self at that point too.
Yeah, I think so. Like you imagine if you're a real estate agent for the rest of your life, like you need people in your life because you need vendors. Even if you don't like those vendors, you got to pretend to like them. Like if you're an employee of a company, you don't like your boss a lot of the time, but you need to like him or pretend to like him because he pays your fucking bills. I think it's a good feeling knowing that. Maybe you wouldn't be able to live at the level that you're living if you didn't have certain people in your life, but you can not need certain people in your life and pull your lifestyle back.
Yeah.
I think, that's something I think about a lot.
I agree.
Yeah, like you're pretty much at a stage where if you wanted to, you could travel the world and just do science.
So
business yourself.
my whole thing now is I could have no staff and just be Jack Henderson on my social channels and make more than enough money to never need anything again, right? Yeah. Just because of, the brand that I've built so far. I mean, fuck, if I do something fucking stupid, super dumb and fuck all that up, then I might...
But it's his brand.
Yeah.
The brand. Yeah.
And I think I look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone and stuff like that, it's a powerful feeling, man. You don't need anyone.
Yeah. Like you don't even know it's called VaynerMedia. You just know Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah. You can do anything you want. You literally need no one. And then obviously by having assets on your side as well, knowing that if all went wrong, you could sell down some assets, have some capital, you know what I mean? And not be on the, on your ass. I think that's pretty important.
I agree.
That was a good podcast.
Cracker potty. Thanks, Jack.
It wasn't really about real estate, was it? It was fucking...
I don't think it was anything about real estate.
Spilled out my heart.
Mate, cracker. Thanks, Hendo.
No worries, boys. Thank
Appreciate it, my man.
you.
What's your last just give me one more bit of something. That was good.
I don't know. You got me at a good time. I've been thinking about a lot of shit over the last couple of
This
weeks.
has been really good. I'm enjoying learning this. What's the last thing that was marinating that you thought you'd been...
The last thing that was marinating in my head today was when I was listening to the podcast on the way up and that guy was talking about sacrifice. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. We don't know anything about sacrifice.
No.
We know nothing about sacrifice at all.
No.
And I don't even know, what the people who sacrifice know about sacrifice. You know what I mean? It's
just picking a different option.
It's just crazy to think that we live such a different life to 90% of the world's population. I don't even know the life that they live as well. I can't put myself in their shoes and go, fuck, they live a crazy life. And yeah, I just heard that this morning and it really ticked my brain. And then I turned the podcast off and just started thinking the whole way back to the whole way back to Sydney. I was like,
it's true.
We don't know sacrifice, bro. Fuck. Oh, sorry, I didn't. I chose not to go out this weekend and save my money. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, what type of sacrifice is that?
And I probably said that before as well. I probably said I sacrificed this and I sacrificed that. But the reality is I didn't sacrifice. I made a choice to do something else as opposed to what I could have done.
Yeah.
And now you know.
That was good, man.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Hendo. Fuck yeah.